Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasarupine avatara paristhaya Ramakrishnaya te namah. We bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, who is the embodiment of the divine, establisher of religions and foremost of the incarnations of God. Om Jananing Saradang Deving Ramakrishnang Jagadgurung Padapadmetayo Sritva Pranamami Muhur Muhur. We bow down to Mother Sarada and the great Master Sri Ramakrishna. We take refuge at their feet and bow down to them over and over again. Om Namah Sri Jyotirajaya Vivekananda Surai Satchit Sukha Sarupaya Samine Dukharine. We bow down to Swami Vivekananda, the prince and the king among the Jyotis and Yogis of all times, whose nature is that of knowledge, existence, bliss absolute, and who was born to remove the sufferings of all. Om peace, peace be unto us, peace be unto all living beings. Our today's service is in honor of Holy Mother Sarada Devi, mother and the marriage of Sri Ramakrishna. It was 1858, Sri Ramakrishna, then 22, an unknown temple priest at the Kali temple of Dakshineswar, was engaged in the severest forms of spiritual practices and austerities. People around Sri Ramakrishna thought that the priest had become insane due to excessive thinking of God. News of this spiritual madness spread and eventually reached Kamarpukur, the small village in West Bengal, where he had been born and where his mother Chandramani Devi lived. After persuading him to come to Kamarpukur, Chandramani consulted other family members and came to the conclusion that the marriage would be the remedy for her son's condition. A search for suitable girl began, but nowhere could such a girl be found. At last Sri Ramakrishna himself said that the one he was meant to marry could be found in a nearby village of Jairambadi. The marriage took place, but instead of removing spiritual madness, marriage only intensified the spiritual storm. Little girl set off this new storm. In Sri Ramakrishna was Sarada Devi, known later as the Holy Mother Sarada. She was born in 1853, married to Sri Ramakrishna when she was 5, came to Dakshineswar to stay with her God-intoxicated husband at 18, and nearly 33 when Sri Ramakrishna passed away and lived thereafter for 34 years. Mother Sarada Devi is a rare spiritual personality who towers very high in the realm of the spiritual history of the world. She is a powerful inspiration to many and literally worshipped by millions in India and abroad. She did not write or preach. She just lived her life, setting an example for us to follow. By mere look, a touch, or a wish, she transformed sinners into saints. If Sri Ramakrishna was a living flame of spiritual realization, Mother was a steady, glowing fire of God consciousness. To the Master, Sri Ramakrishna, she was the goddess of wisdom in a human form. To her disciples, she was the Divine Mother herself. To her devotees, she was more real mother than their own earthly mother. To the seekers of truth, she was the final word. And to the sinners, she was the last refuge. Mother was with the Master for 14 years. Master looked upon her not only as his disciple, but as his spiritual companion, helper in his earthly mission. Deep inside, he regarded her as Mother Kali herself. Far above the reach of carnal desires, the two lived the purest lives of free souls, one the counterpart of the other. Mother's spiritual eminence was manifested even when she was a little girl in the village. Her love and compassion were all engulfing. By her love, she conquered everybody. Her compassion flowed not only to humans but also to animals, be they cat, bird, or cat. Mother said, "He is unfortunate indeed who does not feel my compassion." I do not know anyone, not even an insect, for whom I do not feel compassion. She was the embodiment of Master's message of the motherhood of God. Motherhood represents grace, compassion, and love. Sri Ramakrishna brought his long years of austerity and spiritual practice to consummation by his worship of Mother Sarada Devi. Question comes why there was a marriage. A man of renunciation, above all lust and greed, who could not touch even a metal, not to speak of money. Why he went into marriage? It was a puzzle to many, whose life breath was renunciation, Sri Ramakrishna, whose glory was the conquest of lust and greed, who regarded all women as so many forms of the Divine Mother, even married. No event in the life of a God-man or a prophet is without significance. Through his marriage, Sri Ramakrishna set the example of an ideal householder. He proved that married life is no antagonistic to God realization. He sanctified the institution of marriage, which had been tarnished by sensuality. Through his marriage, the Master gave the greatest honor to womanhood. Holy Mother exemplified the state of Sthita-prajna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the ideal person steady in wisdom. A Sthita-prajna is a knower of the self, but does not wear any outward mark of holiness, just as birds do not leave any footprints in the sky, or a fish do not leave any trail in the water. Holy Mother lived among people of worldly nature, her relatives and others, yet her purity, compassion, and love overwhelmed all. Wherever she went, she carried the heavenly bliss and showered that bliss on everyone who came to her. Her austerities. Sages and saints practice austerities in mountain caves, deserts, and other remote places. Sri Ramakrishna himself practiced unheard of austerities, and Mother did not go to any mountain, desert for austerities. But what she practiced in everyday life is beyond all human imagination. Practice of the severe austerities she did, all other austerities, they pale into insignificance. When compared with the privations and difficulties she underwent throughout her life in Dakshineshwar, she lived 24 hours a day, confined within a small octagonal room, the maximum distance between the walls being less than 8 feet, with no windows. There were only 2 ventilators. And a door just over 4 feet high and 2 feet wide. Think of the situation. She remained there all the time, or on the narrow veranda around the room, and for privacy was screened off with bamboo mats, which cut off the sun and fresh air. On the east side of the veranda was a staircase leading upstairs. Under the stairs she had her kitchen. She never went outside for recreation. Serving the Master day and night was her worship. The same austerity continued in a house in Sampukut to which Ramakrishna moved when he left Dakshineshwar for medical treatment. Here Mother had a small room next to Master's, but before 3 o'clock in the morning, until all others have retired for the night, she stayed in a small covered space that was part of a stairwell on the way to the roof, where she meditated and did everything for the Master. At the Kashipur garden house, when Master moved, after living for about 2 months at Sampukut, a neighborhood of Calcutta, Mother lived in a small, almost windowless room, spending every moment in the service of Sri Ramakrishna. After Master's passing away, and following an extended pilgrimage to Vrindavan and other holy places, Mother came to live in Sri Ramakrishna's native village, Kamarpukur. The Master had told her to stay there by herself and not to stretch her hand to others for anything, he said. Grow some greens, eat boiled rice and greens, and repeat Lord's name. But now with the Master gone, things took a different turn for the Mother. Sri Ramakrishna's monastic disciples were in their wandering days and had no idea of the difficulties she faced. Mother was almost forgotten by the devotees. Her relatives and neighbors were hostile to her. Her garment was a mere rag, knotted. On some days she did not have money even to buy salt for her plain rice. An allowance of 7 rupees, a man she had been receiving from the authorities of the Kali temple at Dakshineshwar, was abruptly stopped when one of her relatives advised the temple authorities that she did not need it. Can you believe that? 7 rupees Sri Ramakrishna diet pension, as he or wives inherit the social security. One of her close relatives told the temple that she does not need money. His disciples were in the wandering days. But you have to understand, a Hindu widow at the age of 33, 35, she has to live with her relatives and friends. Village rules were austere. Even when she had to come to Calcutta, she had to go to the village elders with folded hands, ask their permission. Because where she is going? To live with non-relatives was not the custom. Only M. Mahendranath Gupta, the chronicler of the Gospel, used to send her a small sum of money each month for her needs, about 7 rupees. He was the only person to whom Mother would write for anything she needed. She had to contend with the merciless and restrictive social customs for a Brahmin widow, the hostility of her relatives, dire poverty, and the indifference of the devotees. Devotees all forgot. And this made her suffering somewhat bearable. She now and then had visions of Sri Ramakrishna, and this made her suffering bearable. Eventually, the word of mother's plight reached her mother. About her condition reached her mother in the next village, Samasundari Devi at Jairambati. She sent word to one of her sons who lived in Calcutta. He informed a devotee. Soon the other disciples of the Master were informed, and some money was sent to the mother with a fervent request that she come to Calcutta. Holy Mother went to Calcutta in April 1888. Later circumstances improved for Mother only when Swami Vivekananda, through his letters from America, reminded everyone of the Mother. In one letter, Swami Vivekananda wrote, quote, "Let Ramakrishna disappear, that does not frighten me, but it will be a calamity if people forget the Mother. Do not be angry with me. None of you has understood Mother. Her grace upon me is 100,000 times greater than the grace of the Master. About Mother, I am a little fanatic. I can do anything if she gives me the order. I shall give a sigh of relief when you purchase a piece of land and install this living Durga, Divine Mother there. Brother, when I think of Mother, I say to myself, who is this Ramakrishna? I say this because of my fanaticism. Whether Ramakrishna was God or man, you may say whatever you like, but brother, shame upon him who is not devoted to Mother." Quote close. Swami Vivekananda founded the Ramakrishna Order in 1897. The land on which the present Ramakrishna temple and monastery stands was purchased in Mother's name. Once a disciple asked her, "If the Master is God, then what are you?" "Who else am I?" the Mother replied without any hesitation. "I am Bhagavati, the Mother Universe of all beings." The place where the present Belur Math came, Mother had a vision, passing by the river in the Ganges in a boat, country boat. There are huge banana grove on the bank. Mother saw Sri Ramakrishna seated inside the banana grove. Later said that something big is going to happen there. Mother became the power, scripture, inspiration, joy and guiding spirit of the order. She prayed to Sri Ramakrishna, "Master, those who renounce everything in your name, please give them shelter and protection." Up to her last moment, she remained as the second form of Ramakrishna, distributing the blessings and grace of the Master to all. She took the responsibility of countless souls who came to her for solace, assured them that their liberation was certain, and gave them fearlessness. Quote, "Those who are my children are already free. Even providence, destiny, cannot send them to hell." Overriding the injunctions of the scriptures, she stated, "In this Kali Yuga, mental sin is no sin." No other scripture said that before. Including Swami Vivekananda said, a mental unchastity as good as a mental act. But Mother overrode that. Free your mind from all worries on that score. You need not be afraid. Emphasizing japa or chanting the name of God, she remarked, practice japa, so that you will achieve everything. She consoled weak devotees and disciples with her words, do as much as you can do, and the rest I will do. To the disciples, she often said, whenever you are in danger or trouble, remember that you have a mother. Do not be afraid. The Master is behind you, and I am too as your mother. Assuring a disciple that he would have her affection, said, yes, my child, in my love there is no ebb tide or flow tide. Yet Holy Mother was human to the core. She shared the joys and sufferings of all, wept bitterly when Sister Nivedita died. With the innocence of a little girl, she had fear of ghosts, was perplexed at machines, remained mingled with everybody. Even when not well, she told rosaries for hours at a time for the welfare of her disciples. If you want peace, make the whole world your own, she said. In the fullness of spiritual realization, a person finds the God who resides in every heart, resides in the hearts of all. The oppressed, the persecuted, the lowly and the untouchable. This realization makes one truly humble. Forgiveness is a great religious austerity. There is no higher virtue than forbearance. If you want to succeed, seek divine grace. The goal of life is God realization. The way is self-surrender. Whoever surrenders himself to God is saved. Behave according to the time, place, and person. One who has renounced everything for God is a living God. Those who surrender to the Master, he always stands behind them. Even the injunctions of destiny are cancelled if one takes refuge in God. Destiny strikes off with its own hand what it has foreordained for such a person. Holy Mother tried to fulfill the requests of all her disciples, no matter how unusual or demanding these requests were. No one went away disappointed. How will you understand the sufferings of the afflicted? She said to a monk who poked fun at some of our unusual requests, of some devotees. The monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna would hesitate to come and see Mother because in her presence they would be overwhelmed with spiritual emotion. Especially Swami Brahmananda would shake due to his spiritual fervor. To Holy Mother, Master disciples were incomparable. She referred to Swami Vivekananda as my all, to Swami Brahmananda as visible Narayana, or my son in a spiritual sense, to Swami Premananda as my very inner soul, and to Swami Yogananda and Saradananda as members of my inner circle. She regarded renunciation as the foundation of spiritual life and would say, with whom shall I live but with those who have renounced the world for the sake of God? Once Mother attendant Gulapma found fault with the young novice monk and threatened to leave Mother's house unless that monk left. Mother said, let her leave if she likes. She is an householder after all. The novice has given up everything in order to serve me. So she could be stirred when necessary. She was the nurturing mother to a disciple, tolerant and indulgent older sister to her younger brothers, teacher of the household arts to her sister-in-law, affectionate aunt to her nieces and nephews, and mediated disputes, looked to the needs of everyone, and constantly gave motherly love to all. Women devotees felt at home with her, seeing her as one of them. But through all it, she remained an unattached. At will, she would see the world around her unreal and brought back to her true divine nature. Holy Mother Sarada Devi served Sri Ramakrishna in every way up to the last days. Though living in the world, she lived as a nun. She once said that even the bad thought never crossed her mind. What is the aim of life? The Mother said, to realize God and to be absorbed uninterruptedly in consciousness in this aim. She lived literally what she said. Above all, she was the mother tending to her disciple, needs physical and mental and spiritual, and never expecting anything in return. She was the teacher who made their path clear and certain, the Divine Mother who granted them liberation. At the same time, she was the mother who looked after them, wept with them in sorrow, laughed with them in joy, and accepted them as they were. Those who came to her, wholeheartedly called her mother, received the blessings in abundance, sometimes more than they deserved. Up to the last moment of her life, Mother granted sacred initiation to all the devotees who came to her and set them free. She unhesitatingly took the sins of all upon himself. This burden of sins eventually brought her intense spiritual suffering and bliss. After a long illness, she passed away on July 21st, 1920. Yet her passing away is not the end of the story. In her invisible form, she continues to give her blessings to even today, to anyone who accepts her as the real mother and surrenders to her. Holy Mother Sarada is a real mother. She said she is not an adopted mother. She is not mother because she is Sri Ramakrishna's wife. She is not mother from a social sense of real. Girish Ghosh, great dramatist, asked, what kind of mother? He said, I am not your mother because I am your guru's wife, not your foster mother, not your adopted mother. I am your real mother. Earthly mothers are presentations. She was practical to the core. Once in Calcutta, plague started. People are dying like flies. Swami Vivekananda is a man of great emotion. Only Belur land was purchased. In those days there was no money. Earlier I said the land was purchased in the name of Mother, in the deed. In fact, even now in Belur Math, her footprint on some Ganges earth was taken and it's still there in the Belur Math for worship. Swami Vivekananda said, sell this land. We will spend this money for the plague-stricken people. We are sannyasins, we live under a tree. All other disciples got a lot. After so many years' effort and little money, land was purchased. He wants to sell. Somebody went to Mother, that Swami Vivekananda want to sell the whole thing. Mother called Swami Vivekananda. He said, my son, you purchased the land in my name. That land is mine. You cannot sell my land. So Swami Vivekananda was stunned. He said, no, I will not do that. So this is, somebody asked, when you will not be here, who will be? Take care. Mother said, what do you mean? Sri Ramakrishna said, I did not die, I only passed into another room, from the visible form to the invisible. So I will be there. Those who came received their blessing. Those who are not born and yet to come, I am keeping the blessings for them. So she is ever present, continuing to administer and distribute her grace to all in invisible way. Even today, this is a fact. Thank you. I pray that on this day, Mother's blessings be all of you. Those who came thinking of her, even for a moment, that will save us from the great terrors and tragedies of life. May Mother's blessings be on all of you. Om Jananing Saradang Deving Ramakrishnang Jagatgurung Vad Padme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Mahur Mahur. We bow down to Mother Sarada and the great Master Sri Ramakrishna. We take refuge at their feet and bow down to them over and over again. Om, peace, peace be unto us, peace be unto all living beings.